Today we have a very special episode of Talking Sense as we are joined by Olympic silver medalist Kassidy Cook. We'll be taking a deep dive, pun intended, into the world of an elite athlete and what that can teach you about your money. So, Kassidy, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today. It's such a treat to have you here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about being on the show.
So before we get into the financial side of things, I would love to hear a little bit about your journey to Olympic silver. What sparked your passion for diving, and when did you realize you could compete at that elite level?
I grew up in Florida, born in South Florida, and I had 5 older siblings, and my mom was trying to keep us busy as a kid, so she put us in a bunch of different activities, one of which was diving. I think, that's not the typical sport that you put a kid in, but being in South Florida, just with the warm weather, I think that, aquatic sports were big there. So I pretty much grew up on the pool deck watching my older siblings. And when I was old enough to swim, I started diving, which was at 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
And my earliest memory of having Olympic aspirations was when I was 5 or 6 years old watching the 2000 Sydney Olympics. I remember watching the competition and just feeling an immediate spark for the sport. Like this inner voice telling me that I wanted to experience that level of artistry and challenge. So I started training seriously at a young age. Actually moved to Texas when I was 10, specifically for diving. And just, have been training ever since then. Dove in college, dove all throughout high school and club, and then obviously carried on into my 20s as well. But I remember just being obsessed with the Olympics, and I wanted to make the Olympic team, but my ultimate goal was I wanted to medal. Okay. And this past year that finally happened, and it was just the greatest feeling in the world.
That's awesome. Elite diving, I would imagine, requires immense dedication and resources. Could you break down what it really takes, both in terms of time and financial investment, to train at an Olympic level?
Yeah, for sure. So training for the Olympics isn't just about showing up to practice. It's a full-time commitment. And as I've gotten older, I've realized it's a full-time job. On any given day, I'd spend about 6 to 8 hours of practicing in the water, out of the water, doing dry land drills, strength training, refining my techniques, and then also, recovery and mental training as well. So it really doesn't consume your everyday life. It's a very regimented schedule that demands, peak physical condition, mental focus, and endless hours of just training and dedicating yourself to it. Financially, I would say it's equally as intense. The cost of top tier coaching, equipment, specialized training drills, nutritionists, doctors, and physical therapy if you get injured, it all can really add up, and especially with the travel for competitions as well. But my early support came from, my parents, my family being able to, help me get through that. And then, as I got older, being smart with my money, sponsorships and support from national organizations and companies that support Olympians, and specifically my journey.
You mentioned the trade-off a little bit here, and that's something I find interesting. And you talked about the mental toughness side. I would imagine you spend a lot of time really working on just keeping the right mindset, because I can't imagine like every day is fun when you're doing this sort of training. So what types of things did you do to keep yourself mentally healthy and focused?
Yeah, I mean, diving, I would say, is 80% mental. Okay. It's one of those sports that really takes a lot of mental energy. I always said, my coach growing up always said that diving, you would be a better diver if you could turn your brain off, because muscle memory would take over and those fears and those voices in the back of your head would be shut off. But unfortunately, you can't do that. So I did a lot of, visualization, diving and, acrobatic sports. You come across these things called mental blocks where you like mentally cannot do a dive, so then you physically can't do it. So working with sports psychiatrists and the tools at the USOPC, which is the Olympic and Paralympic Foundation and Committee, they have an arsenal of mental health resources for athletes, just because they know that when you're giving your all to something and it's for an unknown, like you train your whole life. You don't know if you're actually going to make the Olympics until it comes. So having those mental resources to feel supported and reach out and when you need it really makes all the difference.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned 6 to 8 hours of training. That feels like, to me, I'm thinking, wow, you're right. This is a full-time job. But there had to be trade-offs. If you started as early as 6 or 10, what did that look like for you growing up in that environment? What types of trade-offs were there for you and for your family?
Yeah, so obviously, when you train at the level that I trained at, and that most Olympians or people with Olympic aspirations, you have there's a level of sacrifice, a big level, and whether that be when I was in high school, missing homecoming or prom, or not being able to have a summer, really, that's when our competitions were the most busy. You just have to be willing to give up some of the things that you love to chase a dream. But there's this saying that it takes a village. And I know that's a cliche, but it's absolutely true, because to get where I am today, it didn't just take sacrifice from me. It took sacrifice from my coaches and my family and, my loved ones. And, without their support, without their sacrifices, without, my mom driving me to practice twice a day before school, after school, along with having 5 other kids, there was a lot of sacrifices and tough decisions that had to be made, not only by myself, but for my family too. And I wouldn't be standing here today with a silver medal if it weren't for the support and sacrifice of those people that have supported me.
That's so awesome. And as a mom of many, I can appreciate your mom's situation there too. You did talk about the kind of that long-term dedication, that long-term view, with the understanding that you may never get there. It's just, you got to put in the effort. How does that apply to your financial journey now?
I think a lot of lessons that I've learned in sport are very transferable to, professional life and to my finance goals. Diving taught me that immediate rewards are often less valuable than long-term benefits, of perseverance and patience. And that directly translates to me managing my finances, resisting the urge for quick gratification or impulsive buys, and always, staying true to that long-term vision, whether it's, saving up for a big purchase like a car or a home, or adding to a 401k, or getting, setting yourself up for retirement. Each little step adds up and accumulates into, building a successful future for yourself. And that's exactly how it works for me with diving. I started diving when I was 3 years old, but I didn't make it to the Olympics until I was 21, and I didn't medal at the Olympics until I was 29. So all of those little steps and all of those little sacrifices and investments that I made in myself and in my sport, added up to that ultimate goal. And that's the same way finances work. It's not a get rich quick scheme kind of world. You really have to build your portfolio and build yourself that cushion so that you can live a comfortable life down the road.
And I feel like a lot of people think, when they're studying someone like you or any other person who's made these impacts that you have, that it was just kind of this linear journey. Like, you started here, you kept working, and then you got there. I would imagine it's much more bumpy than that. Can you talk about maybe some of the setbacks that you've experienced and how you've kind of worked through those, if you've had some? I'm going to make an assumption that you have.
Oh yeah, my career has been filled with obstacles and setbacks. I've had 7 surgeries, spread out over the last little more than a decade, that have really held me back during that period of time. And, as an athlete, when you injure yourself physically, you don't know if you're ever going to be able to return to that level that you were at before. But, investing in my health and in my physical therapy, and staying true to that long-term goal is what really helped me get through those obstacles. I am the only female American diver that has made it to non-consecutive Olympics. So I qualified in 2021 and in 2016, and then again in 2024, because in the 2020 games, which were actually in 2021 because of COVID, I got injured shortly before those Olympic trials. So I had to get that, I had to, sit out on that Olympic games, which was really tough because the Olympics are only every 4 years.
Yeah.
So that's a really big gap for an athlete. And I think just, staying true to that 6-year-old girl that had that dream and knowing that, even if I don't make it, I want to enjoy the journey and the process. And that's something that I've learned as I've gotten older. It's not just about the end result. It's about the journey and the steps that you take to get there, because that's what is going to be more long-term. That's what you are going to remember at the end of the day or at the end of your life.
Yeah. And I tell my kids all the time, if you're got a bus that you need to make and you just kind of casually walk up and you miss the bus, you never really know if that bus was for you. You've got to chase after it. And it sounds like that's kind of what you did. Like you almost missed a bus because of an injury, but you said, you know what, I'm going to chase this thing. And then you were able to fight back and get not just there, but there with a medal. I think that is just so fantastic for other people to hear, not just about, the Olympic journey, but about what can happen in our lives, how you can get knocked down, but you have to choose to keep working towards your goal. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. And I love that saying about the bus. That's awesome. I'm going to apply that to my
life. If you don't go chasing and beat on that door a little bit, then you don't know if it was really your bus or not.
Exactly.
So you've developed these incredible disciplines through your training. How have those habits like delayed gratification and staying focused and visualization helped you maintain your financial discipline?
I think that all of the tenets of, being a good athlete transfer over into professional life so well, because especially when it comes to finances, like being able to persevere, being able to see the big picture and, delaying that gratification for long-term goals, and also being able to adapt, and pivot when things don't go your way are all things that can be applied to finances. Because, the market and jobs are going to come and go. They're going to fluctuate. You're going to have a bad year or a bad week, but then you might have a great week or a great year the next year. So it's really about just like staying patient and trusting in the process and using your experience and your network and, the people that can advise you or help you. And in my cases, it was coaches and trainers, nutritionists to help make you become successful. I think all of these little things add up to a bigger thing in life, like a grand picture. And I think that having all of these years of diving and learning all of those traits has really helped me in my professional and financial life.
And it sounds like, when I talk to people about what we do as financial advisors, I'm often using the phrase coach, because our job is to refine what you already do and what you already have and help you kind of tweak it. It does remind me of what probably a lot of your coaches did. It was about refining technique, because, you probably could have become a decent driver by yourself, but you needed that help to fine tune what you were doing to get to the next level. Would you agree with that at all?
Oh, 100%. Obviously when in the beginning stages, when you're younger, you need to learn everything. But as you get to college and, post-grad and in your late 20s, you obviously know how to do the sport, but it's always about bringing it to that next level. And it's hard to do that yourself. Having experts and professionals come in, and even if it's just like a small tip here and there, you change one tiny thing, that can make all the difference in the world. And, I've been fortunate enough to work with some of the best coaches in the country. And, I was a great diver before them, or a good diver before them, and they turned me into a great diver. And so I really think, utilizing your network and finding the right fit can just make you that much more successful.
You talked earlier about there being, I think you used the phrase, no get rich quick. That's not really a thing. And that when you have to work for something, it often is more worthy. Just like there's no magic pill to fix finances, there really was no magic pill to make you strong, to make you a better athlete either. How does something like nutrition into your training as an athlete play a role when it comes to that? Because, you could get physically strong, but as you mentioned, you need the mental toughness, you need the nutrition. What were those impacts all around for you?
For sure. So there's no shortcut to success in diving, just like there's no shortcut to success in, finances or professional life. Whether it's perfecting a dive or building strength, everything is built through consistent effort, and nutrition is one of those things that plays a pivotal role. And I've, as I got older and, my body changed, I learned and worked with, professionals, nutritionists through the USOPC. And You learned a balanced and nutrient-rich diet that was designed to fuel those long hours of training and promote, speedy recoveries. But while also making sure that I am enjoying, my life and my meals. I'm a big foodie, so I don't like to deprive myself of, desserts. That's my weakness. I love desserts. So it's like finding that balance of what's going to make you feel good, what's going to give you energy, but then also what's going to make you feel good mentally as well. Mm-hmm. So it's all about finding that perfect balance to make you feel physically ready for competition or for training, but also mentally. So it's okay to have, a bowl of ice cream at the end of the day. It's always that 80-20 for me. So it's like 80%, I'm going to try and be follow that meal plan and make sure that I'm fueling myself in the correct way. But 20% of the time, like you gotta let yourself live a little bit and eat those things that you enjoy. And that's always been a tough thing to balance growing up. Just, being a female in a sport where your body is being very put on display in a bathing suit. And you're literally being judged on a scale of 1 to 10. But being able to work with, sports psychologists and nutritionists and find a plan that works for me and that makes me feel physically good and mentally good really helped shift my perspective and again, was one of the big game changers in my training regimen.
And I feel like in the financial world, there's this tendency to do similar to what you were talking about before, where it's like it's either all in or all out. There's not really a middle ground that is balanced. I tell people all the time, I don't want you living off of peanut butter sandwiches and ramen noodles just so you can meet your financial goals, because you've got to, like you said, you've got to have that 20%, that time where you're getting to do things for yourself. So I love to hear that even in your elite world, you see the need for that balancing act too. So you've gotten your silver. Congratulations. What's next for you, and how can people follow along with your journey?
Thank you so much, by the way. Winning the Olympic silver medal was a dream come true. But yet I know that it's just one chapter in my journey in my life. I still have a lot of life to live. So I'm excited to continue to push my limits, whether that means setting my sights on future competitions if I choose to keep competing, or exploring new challenges, mentoring young athletes, or, making that next career step. I think that it's all exciting stuff, and the things that I've learned on this journey to the Olympics and to the Olympic silver medal are going to help me and aid me into making, the next phase of my life as fun and successful as possible. I plan on sharing my journey, both, in and out of the pool with those who follow me. So I have, social media, Instagram, and, my username is just my name, Kassidy Cook 13. And I like to share parts of my journey on there and really connect with people that I wouldn't normally get to connect with. Mm-hmm. I also am working on a few business endeavors. As previously we talked about nutrition, and that's become like a big passion of mine in the most recent years. So I'm actually a co-founder of a supplement company called Evolve Nutrition. We make a protein powder that's, and kind of like an all-in-one, a whey collagen blend. Mm-hmm. And it's been really fun kind of putting my passion for nutrition that was, a pillar in my athletic career and turning it into a career. Yeah. So I'm just riding the wave right now, but I'm super excited to, for the next couple of years and to see where life takes me and the experiences that I've already have and how they play a role in, making a career for myself.
Well, I'm sure that the ability to learn to control the fears that you've used in diving is helping you tons with this, being able to visualize what you want. And I think it really speaks to something we at Gym Wealth are big about. It's passion, that you found something that you are really passionate about. And when you can put that into, put that energy into what you're working on, I know it always ends up being much more successful in my experience. So I'm excited for you. So that was Evolve Nutrition. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have to check it out because I am a protein powder gal myself.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah. Let me know what you think. Yeah. It's a really great product and designed, with athletes and health in mind. So it's a super clean. And I wanted to make something that I would personally use and that people that compete at my level that go through the anti-doping and have to, get drug tested all the time, that they felt comfortable and knew that we could guarantee that it was completely clean from anything that might, deter them from their path.
That's awesome. Well, we always do this thing at the end of the show that we call our last 2 cents. And this is kind of your opportunity to say, okay, if I could give you anything from my journey, here's what I'd want you to know. I'd love to take as long as you need to kind of share what you think people need to know about your journey, about just life in general related to that.
I think that the most important takeaway that I've learned, in my career is that it's about the journey, not the destination. What you said earlier about, finding something that you're passionate about, that you love, makes the journey so much better. Mm-hmm. You're going to have ups and downs. But if you push through and really realize that disciplined and gradual progress leads to lasting rewards, that you're going to lead a fulfilling life and, reach those goals.
Awesome. Well, as I told you earlier, Kassidy, my daughter and I watched you on your run for the silver. So I'm going to get to go home and brag that I got to meet with you today. So thank you for this opportunity. And for those of you who are listening to this, if you need some help on your journey, if you're looking for some coaching, a place you could get started is to download we've got 6 keys to unlocking financial independence. You can go to getreadyforthefuture.com/keys to pick that up, or you can text the word keys to 501-381-5228. Kassidy, thank you so much again for joining us today. It has been a pleasure to get to know you, and I wish you all the best on your journey.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, you guys, we hope to see you again next week where you can learn more about finance. Thanks for listening to Talking Sense. And if you like what you hear, make sure and subscribe to the podcast to get all the newest episodes. The Jim Wealth team is available to you 24/7 at info@getreadyforthefuture.com or by calling our offices at 866-653-PLAN. That's 866-653-7526. And while we like to have fun here, we're also financial advisors, and that means disclosures. You should personally consult a financial advisor before making any investment, and no strategy can assure success. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Independent Advisor Alliance. Independent Advisor Alliance and Jim Wealth Financial Advisors are separate entities from LPL Financial.